Trusting intuition is a powerful process that requires practice and patience. So think of it like going on a journey. And as you go on this journey, you will naturally just get better at it. You will naturally become more in tune, and you will get to that point where you just know it's your intuition talking to you. So that's the point that I'm at now, where it's like, I know if it's my ego talking to me and I know not to listen. I know when it's my intuition talking to me and I know to listen and trust that. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 tips for helping you to trust your intuition. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share a personal story of mine of how my intuition saved my ass in a serious situation. Because I want to give you an example of how your intuition can really help you, so that I hope it inspires you to put this into practice. So let's get straight into it. The first tip I have is to differentiate your intuition from your ego. So it's like there's 2 versions of you. And your ego is part of the mind. So when you're operating from the ego, you're operating up here from the mind. The ego is where all your negative fear-based thoughts come from. So if you receive thoughts that are negative or put you into fear, that's not intuition, it's ego. The ego is loud compared to intuition. You know, it's like that internal chatter that we always have, that's always talking to us and telling us negative things, and it's always just like it never shuts up sometimes, right? That's ego. And then intuition comes from your heart or soul, because your soul's connected to your heart. And you also have the higher self, which is connected to the soul. And so your higher self will talk to you in the form of intuition. And you know it's intuition by the way it makes you feel. Like when you receive an intuitive message that's come through, if it makes you feel inspired, uplifted, energized, the message resonates with your soul. So you feel really good about the message you've received. It puts you in a positive state. That's intuition. Your intuition will never make you feel fearful. It will never be negative. So that's the first step, is to differentiate ego from intuition, or ego from soul. And again, just putting this into practice. The second tip is to quiet the mind. Because it's the ego's part of the mind and it's all that chatter, you've got to quieten down that mind in order to receive the inner guidance. So quieting the mind creates space for your intuition to come through. And in order to quiet your mind, you can incorporate different practices. So meditation, for example, is a great practice. And this is because, I just need my green pen. This is because these practices that I'm going to give you that quietens the mind shifts your awareness from sitting up here. So your awareness can be up here. That's when you're operating from the ego. That's when you could be overthinking with all that internal chatter. And you can use meditation to shift your awareness down there into the heart. It's an amazing feeling when you make this shift, right? Because when you sit down in the heart, the ego mind goes quiet. All that internal chatter just shuts up. And that's when you can start receiving the intuition. Because intuition is a lot more quiet compared to the ego. So in order to receive that quiet whispers of intuition, you've got to quieten down that mind to allow it to come through. So meditation is a great practice, because what happens is as you're meditating, you drop your brainwaves. So there's different brainwave stages. When you're in beta brainwave, that's when you're very alert and aware of what's going on. Alpha brainwave is when you're in a more relaxed state, like watching TV or driving your car. And then you drop down into theta, which is when you're in a dream-like state. It's that light sleep. And you can get into theta brainwave through meditation. As that happens, you drop from here to here. That's when you're sitting in the heart, you become pure consciousness. It's like you're just sitting in your internal world. and your ego's quiet, and then all this intuitive guidance will just start coming up out of nowhere. It's a really great feeling. You feel really connected to a higher power. So practicing meditation, another one is mindfulness. So mindfulness practices, the idea is that it just brings you into the present moment. And as you come into the present moment, it dissolves the ego. So again, it gets that ego to shut up because it's so loud, so that those intuitive messages are able to come through. Another great practice for quieting the mind is just nature connection. Go for a walk in nature. It naturally grounds you in the body. So it shifts you into the body, quietens down the ego, and then again, you can start receiving the intuitive guidance to come through. My third tip is to feel into the body, and that's because your intuition speaks to you through the body. So again, that's why you want to be shifting into here, tuning into the body. A lot of us just spend too much time sitting up here, and we may not even actually be aware of it. So feel into your body. If you receive some information, ask yourself how it makes you feel. Do you feel uplifted, inspired, energized? Does it resonate with you? You can just literally just sit in your body, in your internal world, and just, how does this make me feel? Another way that you know, or another sign of intuition is like, it's a deep knowing in the body. Like you just know. For example, a few years back, I had a cousin that passed away, and it was the hardest death for me to process, right? And I had a lot of dreams about him, but there was this one particular dream that stood out from the rest. It was the last dream I had of him, I think. And this dream was him visiting me. And some people might think, oh, how do you know? How do you know it wasn't just your mind creating this dream? Because I have the deep knowing. There was so much detail to this dream, and there was a message behind the dream as well, that he was basically telling me I needed to let him go and move on, carry on in life without him, because I couldn't let it go. And I woke up and I just had this deep knowing. He visited me and he helped me basically process his death and let it go. And after that dream, I was okay with it. I accepted it and I stopped dreaming about him. So it's that deep knowing. You don't have any doubt. You don't question it. You just know in your body. Another tip is your gut instincts, right? So tuning into the gut, your soul's connected to the body and connected to the gut, connected to the heart. So gut instincts is just another form of communication from your soul and higher self. So when you have those gut instincts, listen to that, don't doubt it. For example, you may meet someone and you're just like, there's something not right about this person. I can feel it in my gut. There's just something not right. And then you may find out that this person's dodgy, or they committed some crime, or, something that happened that backed up what your gut instincts were telling you about that person. It's just you're picking up on their energy. So listening to the gut. And pay attention to physical sensations in the body or shifts in energy when faced with decisions. So again, it's just tuning into the body. Feel into your body. The next tip is to release doubt. Because we can receive intuitive guidance coming through, but if we get back into our egos about it, we start thinking about it logically, we may doubt, the information we've received, and then kind of talk ourselves out of listening to it. So in order to trust intuition, you've got to release the doubt and the fear. And this goes into my next tip, number 5. The best way for me to learn to trust my intuition was through trial and error. And this is where I'm going to share my personal stories, right? So I was actually receiving intuitive guidance before I even had a spiritual awakening. I don't know, it was like I had spiritual experiences before having a proper awakening. So I guess I was already kind of spiritually in tune in a way. But yeah, my intuition had spoken to me a number of times and really saved my ass. So one of these examples was, I'm going to share this story, and some people may judge me for this, which is fine. I'm going to share it anyway. So I'm going to do my best to summarize it and not drag this story out as well. So when I first moved into this place, I was in a relationship with my ex, and it was a domestic violent relationship. I'm also out of work because I broke my spine and had to have a spinal fusion surgery, so I get back pain really easily, which is why I'm building the YouTube channel and building an online business so that I can earn my own money. But I've been on disability, so the government pays my bills. And while I was in a relationship with him, I didn't tell them that I was in the relationship. Like, you're supposed to tell them. And it's because they will make deductions on my payments because they basically expect your partner to pay for you. Because I was in a domestic violent relationship with this guy, he wasn't going to support me financially. And this house was in my name, not our name. So it was my responsibility to be paying rent every week. And so basically I didn't tell them that I was in the relationship and I was still collecting like the full disability payments. You know, I didn't have a choice in my situation. It was like, you do what you do to survive, right? Anyways, they found out and they investigated me. Now, my intuition fully saved my ass. Because what had happened is I received this intuitive guidance that told me, change your phone number. And instead of getting in my head and doubting this information, like, oh, I don't need to do that, I heard it and I just went, okay, I just changed my number. What ended up happening is they investigated into our phone numbers because they wanted to find text messages between us to prove that we were in a relationship. Because I changed my number when I received that intuitive guidance, during that time, my ex's phone was broken. So there was no texts between us. They investigated the new number, not the old number. If they investigated my old number, they would have found evidence and I would have been charged with fraud, which is a pretty serious charge. And I'm not really the criminal type of person, so having a charge like that for me is like a big deal. So because I listened to my intuition when it told me to change my number, I didn't question it, I just went okay and did it. That's what saved me. They had no evidence to be able to charge me with fraud. It's like, phew. So your intuition can really save your ass. I've got other examples, you know, of it saving my ass in serious situations as well. So I hope it inspires you to put this into practice because it will really help you in your life, not just with serious situations like that, but also with just whatever you're working towards in life, whatever you're wanting to do. Like, for example, I'm building an online business. So I'm always receiving intuitive guidance that is helping me with what I should be doing with my online business. It tells me what I should do, you know, basically just guides me along. So it's just really helpful in all areas of your life. Now, back to trial and error. So there were times where my intuition spoke to me and I didn't listen. And I regretted not listening. So I'll share one of these stories. So I was hanging out with a friend at a lake, and it wasn't like a super hot day. It was like grey clouds, but it was warm because it was like in the summertime. And we were relaxing out by the lake, and I had my shoes and socks off. I have very white feet because my feet hardly see the sun, and I was just laying there. And I received the intuition telling me that I should put sunscreen on my feet. I heard it, and then I was like, oh, it'll be all right. I doubted it because I was being lazy. I was like, I'm too laxed out right now. I don't want to have to move. And what ended up happening is I got really badly sunburned feet. It wasn't a regular sunburn either. Like, my foot swelled up pretty big. I had a cankle. I'll even show you a photo. I've got a photo of it somewhere. It swelled up so big. I had never had sunburn swell up like this before. I couldn't walk on it. It was so painful. But, you know, the swelling went down. But what ended up happening that was really strange was it wasn't like normal sunburn where it's like pink and then it just peels. My foot went a really weird color. It went kind of like a really deep purpley sort of color. And looking at my foot, it literally looked like it had been getting cooked by the sun. Like it just wasn't a normal sunburn. And I was like, this is so weird. It took a really long time to heal and go away because even as the sunburn went away, there was still a bit of discoloration on my foot. And if my foot got too hot, like in the shower or wearing shoes and socks on a hot day, if my foot got too hot, it would start going all tingly on the top of my foot where I got the sunburn. So I fully regretted not listening to that intuitive guidance. And it's just through trial and error. Like sometimes you may receive some intuition coming through and you listen and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I listened to that. Sometimes you may receive it and you don't listen. Then you're like, damn, I wish I listened to that. And for me, that was the best way I learned to listen to my intuition, just through trial and error. The more you do that, the more familiar you start becoming with your intuition. And so now for me, I'm at the point where I know if it's my ego, and I can tell my ego, I don't want to hear from you right now. And I know when it's my intuition, and I know to listen and not doubt it. So I hope you like this video and you got some sort of value. I hope I've inspired you to put this into practice and start tuning in with your own intuition, because you have an inner guidance system within you that has all the answers to whatever you're dealing with in life. So it's just learning to tune in and to listen. So if you got value, let me know by hitting the like button or write a comment. If you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification, and have an awesome day. Peace.